Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast, The Way I See It. Today, I want to talk about Ajaokuta Steel Complex. Of course, my name is Kalu Aja, and on my podcast, I do the economy, finance, and anything concerning money. So today, we're going to do public policy and, of course, public sector investments. That's a good title for it. It's going to be kind of long, very informational. So just try to follow, and then let's see where it's going to go. Let me start by saying this straight out of the box, right? We're going to review what has happened, say, from 1962, 67, and all of that. We're only doing this just so we can learn and perhaps learn and get better. We're not blaming. This is not a blame game. We're not shaming people. We don't want to say, hey, this person did something bad. They should have done this. No. We want to say what happened. Hopefully, we can learn from it, right? Not to blame. That's the first thing we want to make sure that we're getting out there. Number two, I'm not an expert in steel. I'm not an engineer or anything like that. I am just a finance guy, right? So what I do is I follow the money. I've wondered, just like you all, why doesn't Ajaokuta work? How come it's just there? It's so important, but it's not working. So I just followed the money. I literally went to all the steel plants in Nigeria. There are about five of them. I've gone to all of them apart from the one in Oshobo. I asked questions. I went to the experts. I sat down with them. I asked them questions. What's going on? I did my research, right? And I got tons of information. I was able to understand what's going on, right? So that's just what I've done. I'm not an expert. This is just going to tell you what I found out, and I'm going to back it up with like historical documentation that you can find online. We're not debating this. This is like past historics. It's there. It's live. Data. We can't go back and change stuff. So there's no debate what I'm going to say, right? I'm not going to try to say we did this or we did that. I'm going to tell you what happened, the history of it, so that you see where we are, why this problem of Ajaokuta and the steel sector persists till today. But why is this important? There is no country that can develop without a steel sector. It's impossible. If you're going to develop, you have to have a steel sector. So it's very important we find out what happened in that steel sector so that we can then say, okay, going forward, this is the errors we have made and we can change. So the story of Nigeria steel is very old. It didn't start from Ajaokuta. Way back in 1961, guys, just after our independence, you had a company, or there's an association, they call themselves the Nigerian Steel Association. This was Americans and the Nigerian government. They essentially founded something, it was Westinghouse and Coopers, those are the Americans and the Nigerian government. So they formed this Nigerian Steel Association. And they tried to do what's called a DRI. I want you guys to just remember DRI is direct reduction iron, but we're not technical guys, just call it DRI. This was way back in 61. This DRI was a brand new technology, right? So they tried to see if they could use DRI to make steel in Nigeria because Nigeria had just found iron ore. We also had coal. But it was so brand new, this DRI tech, that it really couldn't work in Nigeria. They hadn't really perfected that tech. So we moved on from DRI in 61, right? Then in 1963, the idea of the blast furnace then comes in. The blast furnace, for us non-technical guys, like a big pot where you just throw all that stuff in and it melts it all off and it makes the steel for you, like the fireplace, the cauldron. That's the blast furnace. Again, you had a consortium from the United Kingdom, from Germany, and I believe it was from the UK. So the Germany, UK, and the US, they all came together, and they formed what was called the United Nigerian Iron and Steel Company. So what they tried to do was to see if they could make steel in Nigeria using the blast furnace technology. They took the tech, they took it abroad. They took it to a blast furnace abroad. And they found out that unfortunately the Nigerian coal and Nigerian iron was really, really low quality. They weren't able to figure a way to make steel using the Nigerian coal and the Nigerian iron ore. Nigerian iron ore was low quality iron. It had low quality of iron. Nigerian coal, it's not non-coking. I don't want to go into the technical meaning, but it's unsuitable to make steel. Their suggestion was, okay, why don't we just export our coal, right, to Nigeria? Then Nigeria can use her iron ore and make her steel. This was way back in 1963, guys, 63. But they then said, man, it's going to be too expensive. You know, the logistics of taking coal from the UK or Gen to Nigeria is going to make the steel expensive. So it's going to be uneconomical. So this blast furnace idea in 1963 also died. At this time, of course, we had the war. And in 1967, Nigeria was then looking for loans to expand, to grow the economy because there was devastation, right? And we tried to get a loan. Everyone gave a loan, but it wasn't enough. Then we went to the Soviet Union also to say, hey, can you guys give us a loan? And the Soviet Union said, yeah, sure, we can give you guys a loan. So in 1967, the Soviet Union then came with a proposal to build a steel plant for Nigeria. And they were going to give us a loan back then of 120 million naira. That was a lot of money. They said, we're going to give you guys a loan of 120 million naira, and we'll build a steel plant for you guys. Because they were happy because Nigeria, remember, was going back to the West. Or Nigeria was a Western leading country. So to them, this was a chance to steal Nigeria from the West and bring Nigeria into the Soviet orbit. So they offered, they dangled the loan in front of Nigeria. Nigeria said, okay. So in 1967, that's when we started to talk about a steel plant built by the Soviets. So Nigeria said, fine, go ahead and do the studies. They had to do soil testing and all that. From 1967, nothing happened till all the way to 1974. The Russians claimed they were doing soil testing and sampling, blah, blah, blah. Nothing happened. So the Nigerians started to complain, hey guys, what's going on here? We've given you guys like a mandate. You guys haven't done anything, what's going on? And remember, this is when Nigeria now started to get crude oil revenues. So we no longer needed this loan. This 120 million naira loan, we told the Soviet guys, hey, we can fund it ourselves. So we don't want the loan. And you guys are slacking. You are taking us back. Show up what you want. Let's know what's going on. Then the Soviets then told the Nigerians, oh, no, sorry, we've done the design of the plan. And surprise, surprise, we have found high quality coal in Nigeria. Good. Remember what we talked about in 1963, where Nigeria tried to do the blast furnace. And the UK, Germany, and the US partners under the United Nigerian Iron and Steel Company said it wasn't possible because the coal was low quality. The Soviets then told Nigeria in 1974-ish, hey, we found high quality coal in Nigeria. So we're going to design you guys a steel plant, and this steel plant is going to use this blast furnace. So remember, guys, we have rejected blast furnace because we have low quality coal. But the Russians said, we found high quality coal. Give us the contract. We will build you this plant with the high quality coal. So Nigeria said, fine. Nigeria gave them the contract. And in 1975, the decision was taken to build the steel plant in Ajaokuta. It was to open in 1981. So built in 75, open in 1981. Then the final, is going to be completely completed in 1983, fully built and all that. Now, remember, because they said we could use our own coal, it was supposed to be in Onitsha, where they could import the coal. But because we're going to use our own coal, they put it in Ajaokuta, right? Because we're going to use Nigerian coal and Nigerian iron ore. So it was put in Ajaokuta, then the Russians started to build. Now, what did the Russians do? The Russians said, we will build the steel plant. then we will operate it and train 1,500 Nigerians. So it wasn't that Nigeria gave the Russians the contract. The Russians built what they designed in Russia, then said, when we build it, we will then train the Nigerians to take over. It wasn't like how you see a country, Nigeria will say, build this, then we go and train our folks to then take over or no. The Russians designed it, built it, then told the Nigerians, we're going to bring in about 7,000 Soviet folks to Nigeria. You're going to pay the least guy about $19,000 a year. This was way back in 75. So we didn't really have any input in what they designed. We allowed it because they said, blast furnace can work. We have the coal. We were happy and we gave them the contract. Remember these guys. So they were to build and then deliver to Nigerians. Guess what happened? Immediately we gave them the contract. The Russians came back and said, sorry guys, we just found out that high quality coal we gave you is not available really. It's not high quality coal. It's still low quality coal. This means that we would have to still use the Nigerian coal, but it's low quality. So what will happen is this. We're going to import the coal from the Ukraine or from whatever, from the Soviet Union. So Nigeria then gives them the contract in 75. After they had offered us in 67 and didn't build it, they take us back to the 1963 blast furnace. Remember, Nigeria only did that blast furnace because they told us that they had gotten high quality coal. But now, after we give them the contract, they then say, oh, we really don't have the high quality coal. And this is not me again. This is you. If you can Google the Minister of Power 1980, his name is Paul Ononugo. You see him stating this in official papers, saying how they then had to go back and change the design of the furnace in Ajaokuta because they had given Nigeria a design that says we're going to use high quality coal. They then had to change that entire design to use the low quality coal, or you import the high quality coal. That's what happened. That's the first, and I call it like quote unquote 419, right? Where they got that contract under the false pretext that they could use, that they found high quality coal in Nigeria. From then, it just went downhill because the project itself was built on the lie that the furnace, the blast furnace technology could work. This is the fault of the Russians, right? But where I fault the Nigerians is this. At that point, why didn't we pull the plug at that point? Because let's understand what Nigeria was trying to do. When Ajaokuta was signed in 1975, there was no Kogi State, there was no Delta State, there was no Abuja. There was no rail line between Itakpe and Warri. There was nothing. It was a brand new, it was virgin land. So for Ajaokuta to work, Nigeria had to, number one, build this factory in the middle of the jungle, what you call Kogi today. There was nothing there, right? Number two, you have to then build a rail line from what you now call Delta State. That rail line will take the coal and the iron ore from Itakpe to Ajaokuta back to Delta. Why did we have to build Itakpe? Because the iron ore was low quality. So we had to build a company called Nigerian Iron Ore Mining Corporation to make the low quality iron ore high quality. So we didn't have to build a railway because we had to import 1 million tons of coal to power, not to power, to make the steel in Ajaokuta because we are using the blast furnace. The same one we rejected in 63 because we were told it was going to be too expensive. So guys, you get the picture now. The Russians got that contract. Once they got the contract, they then built what they wanted. Then they gave what they built to Nigeria. That was the plan. And that for that Ajaokuta to work, It needed a railway to import the coal. It needed a company called Niamako to refine the poor quality Nigerian coal. Those two things had to work before Ajaokuta could work. But why? So the only place I fault the Nigerian government is that at that point in 1975, 79, 80, they should have pulled the plug there and then and said, no, no, this is too complicated. It needs too many moving parts. I understand when Nigeria had to go and buy iron ore from a mine in Guinea to supply the Ajaokuta ore. That's what I understand, right? So it's too complicated. We had to build the railway. So the railway that you see now that was built between Itakpe and Warri, that was built in from 1990. It's not a brand new railway. That railway has been built from 1990 by Julius Berger. All we did now was to convert that railway to a retail railway that can carry human beings. It was originally built from the 1990s, and please go verify, to carry iron ore and coal from the Warri port. Why did they choose Warri port? Because there was no other port you could use to bring in coal. Nigeria tried to import cement to Lagos port. The Lagos port got clogged up. So we had to build a dedicated port in that Warri to just bring in the coal that was then to go from Warri all the way to Ajaokuta, and of course then take the coal, the iron ore back to, before we hadn't built Delta Steel, so let's leave that out of the question. So to summarize for you guys, 61, we tried the DRI. We're going to come back to DRI. Just remember, we tried DRI in 61, it didn't work. 63, we tried blast furnace. We said it can't work because it's too expensive. We can't import coal. The Russians in 67 tell us, oh, no, guys, we have high quality coal. Based on that false information, we give the Russians the contract. The Russians then go and say, sorry, guys, you have low quality coal, but we'll go ahead and build it for you. And then we will then give you guys what we built and train you guys. Again, I am quoting the past Minister of Steel, Paul Onanugu. He's still alive. If you Google it, what I'm saying, you would find it. So Nigeria finds itself with this steel complex that is being built, but it's not really going anywhere because the Russians are dragging their feet. And by this time, Nigerians are just tired of the Russians. They appoint a Swiss company to do inspections. They even appoint a French company to go and build the civil works and tell the Russians only concentrate on the machinery inside. Don't worry, we're going to build the factory itself. But whilst we're doing all this, the military came and there was a coup. Now, all this then starts to unravel because once you have this coup, the original plan, all that following up and all that, it all goes a bit sideways. From give or take 1990 to about 2005, like 15 years, nothing happened at Ajaokuta, nothing was built, right? Then you talk about policy that was passed, whereby Nigeria said we're going to do backward integration, which meant if you were a steel company, you could only get dollars if you were producing steel. So what did the Russians do? The Russians went to Ajaokuta and built the rolling mill before they built the furnace. Then they imported billets from Ukraine so that Ajaokuta could make steel with imported billets so they could get dollars from the federal government to say, hey, we're now making steel. So Ajaokuta has made steel, but it made the steel from imported billets. So let's go back. Ajaokuta is what we call an integrated steel company. It's designed to use Nigeria's iron ore, Nigeria's coal to make billets. Those billets then go to the Delta Steel Factory. Delta Steel Factory then makes the billets that then go to Jos, Oshobo, Katsina. That's how it's supposed to go. Ajaokuta will make the iron ore. It goes to Delta. Delta makes the billets. It gets distributed to those rolling mills. But right now, Ajaokuta is importing billets to make steel on a steel mill. So the rolling mill in Ajaokuta is ready and working. That's why you hear them say 98% complete. But the blast furnace isn't done. So this is the situation we find ourselves in Ajaokuta, that we are chasing a moving target. Let's go back to this DRI thing I keep telling you guys about. This DRI tech is the modern way now, the direct reduction iron. That's the modern way you then make um, steel plants. If you notice, I put up a tweet, all the steel plants in Nigeria, 5 of them. So you've got Ajaokuta, you've got Delta, you've got Jos, you've got Katsina, you've got Oshobo. All 4 of them use DRI. Only Ajaokuta has a blast furnace. All 4 of them were completed on schedule. All 4 of them. Only Ajaokuta was not completed on schedule. All 4 DRI, Ajaokuta blast furnace. All 4 completed on schedule, Ajaokuta not completed to date. Kaduna State is building, through a private Indian investor, a new steel plant in Kaduna. That steel plant is going to use the same iron ore from Nigeria. They're going to benefry it, and make it high quality, and they are going to use it and make steel. The difference, the one in Kaduna is DRI. It's not a blast furnace. This is the point that I blame the Nigerian guys. When we found out in 1881 that this blast furnace route was a no-go area, we should have stopped, pulled our losses, and built a new one. We did not. We invested more and more and more. It gets worse, guys. In 2002, Nigeria went to the World Bank for a loan, $104 million loan to complete Ajaokuta. The World Bank told Nigeria, as at 2002, Ajaokuta is obsolete. 2002. Still, we put money in there because it now became a thing of national pride. We have got to get this to work. It has got to work. We've kept on throwing money in there and it has never worked. Why is it not working? Because it is designed to use that imported coal with a rail line and high quality iron ore. So Niamako has to work, the rails have to work, and you have got to import that coal for at least 5 years and store it there. So that whatever happens, you have your raw materials of coal. You can't start the furnace and put it off. It's not a microwave. So you see, lots of things had to happen for Ajaokuta to work. And those things have not happened. The closest we have gotten now is that the rail line is working. But if the rail line works, where's the coal? Where's the storage? Is Niamako working? When will this all be ready? The Japanese guys came to Nigeria and told Nigeria, shut down the blast furnace, change to DRI. We didn't take their advice. Everyone has said this, DRI. That blast furnace thing, shut it down. We haven't taken the advice. We kept on spending. We kept on giving it out to concession guys. It's been given out to a US company, Sol Gas. They didn't do anything. It's been given to the Indians that came and stripped. They didn't do anything there. Now we're paying the same Indians about $486 million because they took us to court. The situation is very, very simple, right? We are all Nigerians. No one is critiquing the president. I get it. When we talk about Ajaokuta, people jump up and no. It's not going to work. We missed the opportunity to get it to work. The technology today has been called obsolete by the World Bank in 2002. The articles I'm reading, when the Soviet guys built the buildings in 1980, the article says those buildings and the machinery were already obsolete in 1980. But let's leave that away. The World Bank has said in 2002, Ajaokuta was obsolete. Which commercial bank in the world will give you money if the World Bank has said it is obsolete? That's why you are only seeing government to government transactions. That's why it was the same Russians that had to come back last year and say they want to fix Ajaokuta before the war erupted. So all this issue of it has litigation, that's why you had no investors. The Russians came with litigation. Nigeria signed a contract with Russians with the litigation. So it has nothing to do with litigation. The Indian guy that bought it to strip it. It's scrap. That's why he bought it. So he was stripping it because it was a concession. And then we canceled the concession. So we've laid out the issues. We've laid out the issues. What should we do? There are two things we can do. Number one, we can say, okay, we're going to stop Ajaokuta and let it rot. I will personally cry because that's a lot of investment. It has a power plant, roads, real estate. We just can't allow it to rot down. So can we repurpose it? That would mean we stop all that blast furnace thing, build a brand new, maybe DRI furnace in Ajaokuta and use it. The answer is yes. But the answer is why do that then, Ajaokuta? Just build a brand new, smaller one. Build it in 5 states. The one in Kaduna cost $600 million. We are paying this Indian guy about nearly $500 million. Do the maths. You are paying a guy legal fees, $500 million, when you can easily build a brand new one like Kaduna is doing for $600 million. Guys, do the maths. Why go back and invest in Ajaokuta? Why? What's the other solution? Repurpose it to something else. Ajaokuta has a power plant. Put broadband in there. You've got accommodation. Turn it into a magnificent school, venture capital school or school of engineering. Bring people in there, give them money, let them create ideas, right? Use the new economy. Get these young folks in there. 50% Nigerian, 30% African, 20% rest of the world. Put them there, venture capital boot camp, 10,000 people living there. 2 years, you rotate them, you bring in new people. You would get more value for what we have invested in Ajaokuta by doing something new like this. What is happening to Nigerians and Ajaokuta is what economists call sunk cost bias. Nigeria has spent 10 billion in Ajaokuta. So it's hard to say we failed, that 10 billion has just gone to waste. It's hard, and I know it's hard. But guys, I'm a money guy. When you buy a stock and the stock is falling, you sell it if you are a short-term trader. If you're a long-term trader, you don't buy a black and white television company because you like the company. No matter how much you like a black and white television company, it's not going to make money because no one is going to buy a black and white television. Let's assume we have the railways today, we have the coal plants today, we have everything today that makes Ajaokuta work. The steel that will be produced in Ajaokuta will be too expensive. Nobody will buy it. So what is the point of completing it apart from national pride? Nigeria has been anchored on national pride on Ajaokuta. It's time to cut our losses and move on. We're not here to attack any government. We're not here to blame any president. But we have already spent 10 billion. For the love of God, stop spending money. Let the place go. Thank you guys. That's my show today.